vet with them, so this is one odd job.
Okay, how's everybody doing?
Rather than walking with Jesus.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate your time. Hopefully you find this beneficial today. This is the first one I've done of these as a rental make ready, just to kind of show a different perspective. The others that we've done have been total rehabs. So we did one where, actually the very first one I did was right at the beginning of COVID, and everybody's wearing masks and stuff, you know. But it was a total rehab. We hadn't touched it. I just bought it, still had junk in it, but that went over really well, so I've just been doing these ever since. The last one was my big house here in Weatherford. You were at that, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't think anybody else was at that. That was 3,700 square foot, big house. And by that time, we'd already cleaned the junk out, but that was a much different house than what you see here. So, but anyhow, I just wanted to kind of use this as a teaching point on, you know, if you're going to get into the landlord business, you know, maybe there's some things here you might want to consider. We always have very nice properties, whether we're going to flip them or we're going to rent them. We always have real nice properties. We bought this house as, they called it a turnkey rental. It was, most of the work was already done. We just had to do a lot of detailed stuff to this house to make it meet our standards. One of the things that we didn't plan on that was a big expense was windows. I thought when I went through it, you'll notice that they're pretty dirty looking and stuff. But a lot of that is, we didn't waste too much time on it. We took the first layer of dirt off, but there's a lot of bag glass and seals and stuff. But my wife said, we are not renting a house with those windows. So we have new windows on order. They're gonna be here in 3 or 4 weeks. But the rest of the house was really a bunch of details, okay? You know, cleaning, paint touch-up stuff, replacing door seals. You know, it had all the old door seals on it, you know, you could see daylight around it. So those are things that I don't like, so I don't want them in my properties. You know, we make all the outlets and switches match, you know, white in this case. We either, I'm sure you've all had an outlet or switch cover off. We've got big gaps around the boxes and switches. You know, in the wintertime that gets kind of drafty, right? So we either caulk or put the little foam insulators on all of them, you know, to tighten things up. The exhaust fan above the stove, that vents out the roof. But when they put that duct in there, they have big gaps all the way around the duct, so, you know, you can't see it, but the hot air goes right up. That acts like a chimney, right? Anytime there's a little crack in the ceiling somewhere, it acts just like a chimney. And all of those things are going to make a difference. No one little seal or anything is going to make a difference, but adding them all up just tightens it up. Our goal is to keep long-term tenants. You know, John knows that. John's our property manager, by the way. We'll talk to you in just a minute. But you know, I want people in my houses long-term. The less they're moving in and out, the less damage I have, right? So I want to do everything I can within reason to make them happy and stay here. But we've done a ton of that kind of stuff. We've put a new shower floor in the master shower. We've gone through and regrouted the hall bathroom tub. The house already had the new granite. It's a crappy install that they did. They didn't glue the granite down to the cabinets the way they're supposed to be. And so things like that you know, we had to fix.
All around.
Yeah. So we aren't, the only thing that's not done yet is over here. And this is a real thing. We punched a hole in the water pipe here. You know, purely an accident. It can happen to anybody. Sarah's worried about it. But, you know, putting in the quarter round molding. So they push the vinyl plank in, and your baseboard is laid for carpet, so there's that big gap. So we just have this corner to fix. Plumber's supposed to be here today to fix that.
And that actually happens more than you know, to not have a nail guard on that front of that pipe. That's a commonality. That happened at my own personal house after investing $15,000 in bamboo plank flooring. And I had to open up an insurance claim 30 days from the time all that flooring had been placed. So those things do happen, but when they first got this house, there was 0 quarter round. So if you can imagine, that gap that you see was consistent throughout this entire house where the
See how nice it looks now with the quarter round's already done?
really makes a big difference, just that piece of quarter round.
That nail plate is something that happened to me personally. I put a hole in a water pipe in my own house. And, but anyhow, that's real life stuff. That's, so we weren't trying to have it all done for you. We wanted to just leave that so you can see that that's a real thing. Okay, it happens. So let's see. Let me just kind of mentally walk through all the rooms. Ceiling fans and lights. These ceiling fans were new, but don't assume anything. That's another thing I'm going to tell you right now. Don't assume anything in this business. Test it, see it, confirm it for yourself. These are brand new fans, right? You think new fans work? They're all the same. I discovered before I closed that back bedroom fan, you turn it on and it goes tick, 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 tick when it's running. So I asked the seller for the receipt so I could return it. Well, it was a Home Depot, so they didn't care. But I took it back and replaced it. Put the new one in, it's a 3-speed fan, only 2 speeds work. Well, that got me checking all the fans. There's another fan that 1 speed doesn't work. I mean, so just don't assume anything, right? Check them all. But ceiling fans have to be clean. I don't know if you noticed, but these lights, if you go into the bedrooms, they have the dim light in them. So we put the daylight bulbs in here because these rooms, we want more light in it. Okay? Bedrooms, you kind of want a dim light there. So we changed the bulbs in there. Just little things for us. The light shades, we took them all down, cleaned them, covered in grease. The painters, they painted right over the grease on the AC vent in the ceiling. You'll see that all the time unless they put in new vent registers, they just paint over the dust and dirt and everything. Okay? Is that going to change the amount of rent that you're going to make? Maybe, maybe not. Okay? What it will do though is it sets an impression. If people do pay attention to it, a lot of things that we do are, one, the goal is to get maximum rent, but part of it is just get it occupied quickly. It doesn't do me any good to get, $500 above normal market rent if it's set on the market for 6 months to get it occupied, right? What's the effect of that?
Increased carrying costs.
Yeah. What else? Makes it a little more high risk too, right? Vacant houses, liability, kids, theft, all of those things. So, an income, it's an expense every day I sit out of the house. So I want it done as quick as possible and occupied as quick as possible. And some things you don't want to rush too much, but we just want to get them done quickly. The garage door from the laundry room into the garage was a wooden door. That's not a fire safety door. So we put a steel insulated door on there. One, energy efficiency, but what was on it was just the standard hollow core interior door. So now we have safety and now we have better insulation by putting in the door in. All the locks, you got to have a single-sided deadbolt on all doors, and on top of the regular deadbolt, which I forgot about. So we'll be putting a deadbolt back in here, the regular deadbolt, plus you see that top deadbolt is single-sided. You can't turn it from the outside. That's per the Texas property code.
Safety feature.
Okay. So I'm kind of mentally walk back through the house here. So in the kitchen, everything's new. The vent hood and the stove was already installed. The sink was installed, the garbage, the garbage disposal, I never turned it on. When I did, it spewed water out the front, had 2 splits in the front of the disposal. The dishwasher looked like crap. To me, first impressions mean a lot. We put in a new dishwasher. Now I don't have to worry about any warranty issues or tenants worrying about, things breaking. We have all brand new appliances in there. We have a nice 3/4 horse mowing, top quality garbage disposal, so we shouldn't have any problem there. It's bigger than a lot of houses just have a little half horsepower motor instead of 3/4, so we shouldn't have any problem, okay? All the cabinets were clean. Those 4 drawers, the left and right of the stove, the slides on them were broke. They just fall out when you pull them out. I fixed all those. We put in a couple new GFCI outlets so that we're up to code there. We put LED lights in everything that we can put LED lights in. We put on the front of the garage dusk to dawn lights. Do you know what that is? They come on at dark and go off in sunlight. So now you have an added security feature on the front. Okay. Those lights out there hadn't been used or worked in years, if you've all seen them. There was a bush right here on the corner of the garage that had crawled up and covered up the light. It was that overgrown. We had, you see that stack of brush out front? That's the second one. Okay? We had one that big just from the front of the house. That's just from the back of the house. So those kind of things, it really helps improve the neighborhood, but it also improves the look of the house. And, we whacked them back pretty good. The only reason that those 3 bushes right there are still there is because the gas line goes through the right side of it. And I really haven't decided if I want to mess with trying to dig out bushes around the gas line. Okay? Anybody ever had to move a gas meter? So the gas meter is in that back corner of the fence. You can see it sticking up there. And when the gas company come out here to turn on the gas, the guy was kind enough to tell me that the owner is responsible for any problems in the gas line from the meter to the house. Typically, the meter is at the house out here. You've probably seen them at the house before. So I would only, if it was here, I would only be responsible for that section between the meter and the house. The city would be responsible for the rest of it. Well, because the meter's out there, I'm responsible for any damage that comes up here. So he was kind enough to tell me, though, that I can call the gas company and I can request them to move it. They'd rather it be here at the house. So I'll be doing that. So that way, once it's moved to here, they have the responsibility of maintaining it up, from the meter out to the line wherever it hooks up at.
Are they going to charge you for that, or is that
It's not been told to me. It's been indicated to me that there's no cost for that, because it's something they prefer is done in any situation. Okay. So this house has gas hot water heater, gas furnace, and gas fireplace. We're going to be putting lava rock in have you seen the fiberglass that they have now? We're going to be doing that in that fireplace, so it'll be nice for the renters. Let's see, kitchen, I think everything's, we talked about that. Bedroom, that back bedroom had, not only had the bad fan that ticked when you turn it on, they had 2 switches. I'm sure it initially was meant to, one for the light, one for the fan, but they had wired them to work together. The other switch was doing nothing. So do I want a dead switch there? No, because all they're going to do, Tim's just going to call John and say, John, I got a dead switch. And John's going to send an electrician or handyman out and he's going to cap it off and it's going to cost me a fortune. John's ignoring me.
It ain't gonna be a fortune.
So we took care of that. That's all back to normal. The hall bath, we didn't have to do much there. Well, we did have to replace the shower cartridges in both bathrooms. So now we don't have any drippy faucets. You know, that's something you don't want to turn a rental over with is drippy faucets. So we had a plumber come in and do that. We also changed the faucet, the shutoffs in the laundry room, and we put a new laundry room dryer vent in there. They put in one that was really long, and it was just sitting in the hole.
You got somebody trying to rent the house already, Tim?
Security salesman.
Hi, my name's Joshua. I understood, okay, I saw the old AP sign, so I didn't know if y'all were gonna get it read.
Yeah, listen, with that difference, you saw that difference between the house that's been on for 3 weeks and one that's been on 4 days. That's a clear indication the house is gonna go pretty quick.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think here, what else? So this bathroom was in good shape. We did replace the shower cartridge, and Sarah regrouted around the tub. So that bathroom, this house was built in '77. That bathroom looks really good for 1977. Okay. The rest of that both these bathrooms have a combination light, exhaust fan, and heater. You've probably seen the heater fans before. Well, they actually work, which was surprising, but boy, were they clogged up with dirt. So we took all that down, blew it all out, you know, and they work just fine now, okay? Hallway is AC unit. That was disgusting. The air filter, contractors have a habit of running the circulation fan in here when they're in there working. And that filter, when I bought this house, was completely clogged with plaster and paint dust. Okay? So we've had I paid to have the entire AC unit serviced. It was working, but my request was to have the blower pulled and cleaned. They didn't do it. They're coming back tomorrow. Okay? So have you ever heard the saying, trust but verify? You know? You gotta trust people, but you gotta verify that they did what you paid them to do. So they're coming back to pull that motor out and clean that up. AC units is a big thing for me. You want it to be efficient, right? You want the AC bills, heating bills to be efficient as possible. And you know, if you don't clean those filters in that fan, it's not gonna be very good, very efficient. So that's a big thing for me. Eventually I'll replace that unit. It's an old unit. I don't remember what year, early 90s, something like that. So, but it does work and seems to work fine. Master bedroom, and the only thing we had to do, well, this bedroom right here, the only thing we had to do is it's got the accordion doors that open. We had to change the track and top and bottom so they move nice and smoothly now. The master bedroom, there was no work in, no damage or anything, except the closet light. It's got one of those pull chain lights, and it was froze up and didn't work, so I replaced that. And then, if you haven't been back, you can go back and look at the master shower. But the problem with a lot of these little homes, these older homes like this, they have little teeny bathrooms. It's not very big at all, and the shower is not much bigger. You might have a little tough time. It's you know, that's the way they were designed back then. So the floor, we thought we could clean it up. I didn't really think I was gonna have to do much with it, but it just wasn't coming clean, and it looked pretty bad with that original tile and grout. So we had a tile guy come in, one of John's guys, and they laid a new stone floor in there and regrouted it, and it looked pretty good now. Something else we did, we had all of the water faucet shutoff valves replaced. Okay? You've probably all seen them. You get an old shutoff and you go to turn it off to change a faucet or something, they drip and leak under the sink. I don't want that. I don't want my tenants to put up with it. All that does is ruin the cabinets if they don't take care of it. And a lot of tenants aren't going to do that, right? And they may not even notice. So on these old homes, we just go in and change them all to start with. So we don't have to worry about it. So we did that. We did the laundry room shutoffs, and we did the 2 outside faucets. So now we shouldn't have any plumbing problems. You kind of get the theme of what I do with the houses. We try and make them as maintenance free as possible and trouble free as possible. I don't want to get that call from John, and I don't want the tenants to have to call John. Okay? So the other thing that I do is, from a curb appeal perspective, just start right out front, you know, is I want it to look good. You can't get people, you can have the most gorgeous, best deal inside, but if you can't get them out, excited outside, you know, they're not gonna see the inside. So, not only that, just all the overgrown stuff just causes maintenance problems and stuff too. So, you know, those bushes you see out there now, even though they look sad today, they'll come back with some rain. Maybe someday we'll get rain, but with rain in time, they will come back and they'll look just fine. But they gotta keep trimmed up and so that they look good. They had bushes in front of the porch. You could hardly see the porch, up this tall or so. So I had to pull all that stuff out and get rid of it too. This home does have a sprinkler system. There's one zone that I think has probably been removed. It looks to me like it's the zone that covered these bushes out front here. All the other zones worked. I do have 2 heads out the back that I'm going to be replacing here next day or 2. But other than that, it's an old system, but it does work. I had a neighbor tell me that the owner turned it on and it ran all night. And I was afraid the box wasn't any good. Well, they just had that timing thing all screwed up. But I figured it out, it took me about an hour. It's an old box, so it's not like the new Rainbird boxes or anything. So, but we got it all figured out and the system works now. And eventually there'll be grass back here. Unfortunately, our growing season is just about coming to an end here with fall coming up, so. All right, questions. Roof. I didn't talk about roof. Roof's good. Unfortunately, it's a 20-year roof, so I anticipate having to put a new roof on it. I will always put a 30-year roof on a house. It just doesn't pay to go cheap, and a 30-year doesn't cost you much more. And we have a great roofing contractor who's sponsoring the group, so if you ever need a roof, I highly recommend it. We did take off 2 or 3 satellite dishes from the roof. We had to silicone those holes and stuff up. You know, like many houses, people put these satellite dishes up and, you know, when they move and somebody else puts another dish up, you know, so a lot of those are old. The one thing I am worried about this house, long term, John, is gutters. There's a lot of trees around here. When I bought this house, there was plants growing in the front and the back gutter. I got up there and looked, and this front gutter was about that far from the top, full of dirt, just pure dirt. They hadn't been cleaned in years. So I'm not sure what we're
Looks like
gonna
you
do
got
about
some screen on these in the back.
Huh? Yeah, they had screens,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
but those screens are worthless.
Yeah.
I mean, long term, I don't care what any of these companies are saying, you know, it's not gonna eliminate some cleaning and maintenance.
Yeah.
And those were the older style screens that catch everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were solid, full of dirt. I have pictures of it. So that's something else you gotta look at too. You know, you don't want I'm probably gonna end up putting new gutters and get the big ones, Texas gutters. That'll help some.
Yeah, and I think, you know, subliminally, as Tim and Otis, I've got a property on for Otis over there right now too, over in West Fort Worth. And, you know, when you've got a house that's really polished and ready to move into, and it's you know, really dialed in well, it presents well. People see those details. I mean, everybody does. You do, they do, right? And what you subliminally set is a standard. You know, when these people move in, when there's a house that the walls are not painted and they got holes in the walls and that's what they move into, that's how they're going to treat your house. You know, so what you really tell them, you know, really it's a subliminal message is what it is, and this is the standard, and they want to keep it that way. You know, But when they move into something that's half made ready, and that's what you can expect to get that back when they move out.
It goes for the yard too. I mean, if you're showing the house with tall grass and weed and stuff, you know, trash, they're gonna see that too and think that's okay. That's another thing I do is I put down, weed and feed fertilizer first thing. You know, it takes time for grass to turn green and kill weeds, right? So, actually this one I sprayed it with weed killer first and then I put down the dry stuff just before that rain we had. So I was able to get that washed in good, soaked in good. Oh, I missed one. Garage door opener. We put a brand new garage door opener in with remote and it's got a Wi-Fi capability. So once they get an internet service, then they'll have phone access to that garage door opener. So is there anything I missed? Anybody have any questions?
On the controls for the central air and heat, is that Wi-Fi capable as well, or is it strictly
This one.
straight digital?
Yeah, they put a basic digital thermometer on there, thermostat.
So you said you bought this house, it was, you said turnkey, so they had already done some repairs, or was it already rented and then you kicked the rent out?
No, there's no renters, there's no vacant.
This was on the MLS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the first MLS property I bought.
Congratulations.
And now turn around bought one second, the next week after.
Oh, wow.
In Fort Worth.
Okay.
We may do this again, I'm not sure, we'll see.
So what repairs, so did you have to do the floors, paint?
The-
It was already done.
The floors, the paint, the granite, the faucets, they were done,
Okay.
okay? I don't normally do that. I did this specifically for a rental, I wanted to turn it quick, and get it rented.
You got it at the right price too.
Well,
The
and
numbers gotta work.
let's talk about that. So, you know, normally you can't buy houses on the market, on MLS as investment properties, right? I mean, yes, there's some out there now, but they go quick, right? They're there one day, gone the next, and a lot of times they're still overpriced. So that's the reason I've stayed away from it. Well, this has a lot of